France and Australia mending ties as they move on from hard feelings over a torn-up submarine deal. Now, their foreign and defence ministers are meeting in Paris to make sure bilateral relations get back on track. A bit of row erupted between them in 2021. That's when then Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison suddenly pulled out of an expensive contract for France to build submarines. He then announced a deal to buy US or British nuclear-powered subs as part of a new security pact with its two allies, dubbed AUKUS. Australia's current leader, Anthony Albanese, has vowed to fix the badly damaged links with Paris. And for more, Ross Cullen joins us live. He's in Paris. Ross, France and Australia started to make up after that row in 2021. What further steps do these two countries have to take to actually move forward, though? And can we expect anything concrete from today's meeting?
France was furious in 2021, Dawn, when the AUKUS crisis took place, recalling its ambassadors both in Washington and in Canberra, believing that Australia had gone behind its back in reneging on that submarine contract and instead signing that deal with the United Kingdom and the United States instead. Since then, we have had in summer 2022 the new Australian Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese. You mentioned his predecessor, Scott Morrison, there. Well, Mr. Albanese has been in Paris last summer for personal meetings with Emmanuel Macron to try to start to repair the relationship personally. More work going on today in Paris at ministerial level with Richard Marles and Penny Wong here for meetings with their foreign and defence counterparts, Catherine Colonna and Sébastien Lecornu, focusing on repairing that ties at the next level down. If Anthony Albanese and Emmanuel Macron have started to look to reconstruct that relationship at their level, we can now expect the ministers to try to focus on repairing things when it comes to the government ministers themselves. I don't know that we will actually get a signature on the piece of paper, signing on the dotted line, announcing another multi-million-dollar deal to build submarines, but that is a deal that France says is still on the table. But essentially, this is another step in trying to repair that relationship, not just drawn to the level that it was previously, but looking to go further and try and strengthen it even more.
Well, Ross, there are common threads to their relationship and perhaps their place in the wider scheme of things, the wider strategy, as it were. And Australia has flagged the Indo-Pacific as a key area of focus for those talks. What kind of cooperation can Canberra and Paris look at here?
Well, there's absolutely no doubt that France sees itself as an Indo-Pacific player. Its aircraft carrier, the Charles de Gaulle, is currently in the Indian Ocean and over the last week has been carrying out joint operations with the Singaporean Air Force, those combat aircraft flying off the aircraft carrier as it makes its way through the Indian Ocean. France has 1.5 million citizens in the Indian and Pacific Oceans, spread across territories like New Caledonia, French Polynesia and the island of Réunion in the southern Indian Ocean. 8,000 troops are in the area as well, and 93% of France's exclusive economic zone. So there is no doubt that it sees itself as a major player in the region. Emmanuel Macron attended the APEC meeting in Bangkok in November 2022, seeing himself as a head of state from an Indo-Pacific country, saying to Australia that that deal is still on the table. So the kind of cooperation that they'll be looking at, France and Australia, is certainly on a military level, trying to perhaps carry out joint patrols, understanding China's growing influence in the region, working together, France, with its Anglo-Saxon Western partners like Australia and the United States itself, such a major player in the Pacific Ocean geographically with the state of Hawaii and also islands like Guam. France also wants to work with partners like South Korea, like India, like Singapore in the region to try to understand and further develop its Indo-Pacific strategy. So in terms of Paris and Canberra, they'll be looking at how they can work together, perhaps with a new submarine deal, maybe diesel-powered instead of nuclear-powered, how they can work together in the Indo-Pacific area going forward.
Plenty on the table. Ross Cullen there in Paris.